Hey, I'm Marty Schupak for Schupak Sports. Welcome to our first T-ball clinic of the year. This clinic is for primarily new T-ball coaches. If you just became a T-ball coach or an assistant coach, or if you're a parent of a T-ball player, I'm going to go over three or four drills or ideas. Shouldn't run more than 12 or 15 minutes. I'm also going to interject some of my own ideas. Now, if some of you have seen some of my clinics before and some of the things I go over, I repeat them, it's because I think they're very important for the success of a youth T-ball player. Remember, our main goal is to have them develop a lifetime love for baseball or softball. So let's get right into this and I'll go over it. The way I do it, I usually hold up a drill and I'll describe it and I'll try to add some tips for the coaches and for the parents. The one main advice I want to give new T-ball coaches, if you're going to go into coaching T-ball and thinking that you're going to really develop skills, baseball or softball skills, uh, from 5 and 6 year olds, you're not going to develop that many skills. I want to be realistic, okay? It's more that you're exposing these players to different skills in baseball or softball. Now, with that said, you're going to have some young boys and girls that you'll see they're going to excel at certain skills. But for the most part, most of the team will not really develop a pure, let's say, a batting swing or a fielding technique. Again, we want to expose them to the skills of baseball and softball. And the main goal is to have them come back the next year. We will always want them to have the urge to come back for more. If it's a practice, come back to the next practice. Now, I mentioned that, you're going to have some skilled young 5 and 6 year olds. And sometimes keep in mind that kids progress at different levels or different ages. When a child is born from 1 to 5, there's some tremendous growth. From 5 or 6 to puberty, it slows down. And from puberty up to like 18 or 19, there's another tremendous surge in growth. That 5 and 6 year old is kind of a gray area where some kids are better equipped to handle certain coordinated tasks than other kids. With that in mind, you'll find some kids are better than other kids, and a lot of it is some of these kids have older brothers or sisters that play baseball or softball. Naturally, if they gain an interest and they will play with their older brothers and sisters, they'll have a jump on some of the other kids. But if you're coaching, make sure, and I urge you to have a parents' meeting, tell the parents, don't get distressed if your 6 year old is doing not as well as the 5 year old that lives next door to you. A lot of parents really get upset about that. Things change very quickly. Let's get right into this. First drill I want to show you, it's a hitting drill. I call it the target hitting drill. It's just a simple idea. Okay, you see the batting tee. Now, if you look close, and I'll hold it up here, if you look at the ball, you'll see a picture of an elephant. What I found is that the use of stickers with young kids are very effective in T-ball. Okay. So if you put a sticker on the ball, it helps them keep their eye on the ball. All right. And this drill actually simplifies a kind of a focal point where they're keeping their eye on it. Now, I've used animal stickers, I've used fruit stickers. I find that animal stickers work best and it helps them to keep their eyes focused on the ball. A lot of times in T-ball, one of the hardest things for a 5 year old is to get up and hit a ball off the tee. And one of the main reasons is that he'll turn his head at the last second. The sticker helps them keep their eye on the ball. Now, if you have a player that keeps having trouble early on, I always recommend early in the season with these young players, there's nothing wrong with using a bigger, soft covered ball. I don't care if it's a rubber ball or anything else like that. You could get them for a couple of dollars, or you can even look in your attic or garage, they'll show up. We want the kids to experience success. We want them to feel like they are developing a love for the game of baseball and softball, and we want everything to be positive, okay? All right, so that's one idea. It's the T-ball target hitting. Keep that in mind. And, I have some other ideas too. I'll describe them. I'm not going to show them now. One of the things I do early in the year with young T-ball players is with the tee, I go out and I buy a plunger from a hardware store, and I put the plunger in the neck of the tee, and then I'll put like a kickball on it. And all we're doing is making the task easier for the player to be successful. You could just do that in your first practice with your younger kids. It's a good idea. Just right now, I just want to give you an idea of my background before we get to the next drill, which is a fielding drill. I graduated Boston University. I got my master's in physical education at Arizona State University. I ended up working in a family business, had nothing to do with phys ed for years. But with that said, I always did something in the physical education or recreation field my whole life. And I coached for 30 years. I've written 12 books too, and I love to talking to people about sports, baseball, softball, basketball. I'm a huge NFL fan. I've done baseball clinics around the country too, which I love doing, but at this point, I kind of calmed that down. I found that this venue, I'm able to do it on my YouTube channel. It's really effective, and I get very good response. And I urge you too, if you like what you see, and to share it with your teammates, your league committee ball commissioner, your league, and your section, okay? Your administrator. Okay. The other thing I want to mention, I'll repeat this over and over again. Early in the year, when you're doing fielding drills, you want to separate skills, the first or second practice with the first time T-ballers. With that, what I mean by if you're doing, let's say, a fielding drill, you want to throw them the ball or ground ball, and if they catch it, instead of them throwing it back to you, just have them toss it to the side. All right, you'll be with a bucket of soft covered T-balls. Uh, Trust me, it's very effective. You're going to combine skills at the next practice, but the first practice for the young kids, the first couple of drills, separate skills. All right. If there's a throwing drill and you have them catch the ball, again, have them roll it away. Or if there's a catching drill, if they have a throwing drill, you have them throw it and then pick up the next ball and throw it. You don't want them to catch it. Separate skills early in the season. All right. The next drill is it's called the stop the ball or the goalie drill, which I like to call it. It's a fun drill. And what I do is here, if you look, I set up two cones. The coach has a bucket of soft covered balls. It doesn't show the bucket, but it should be there. And there's a player backing up. The coach will throw the ball side to side, and the player has to just stop the ball, keep it in front of them. What we're trying to do is teach players a couple of things, two things really. Number one, I like to have my players get used to moving their feet. All right. As the players get older, they have a tendency to stick out their arm with their $300 glove that their parents bought them. And because the glove is $300, they expect the ball to go right into the glove. We have to get players to keep moving their feet. Okay. The other thing is, I try to emphasize to the players, you don't have to catch the ball, just stop the ball. All right. So they're going to one side, they're stopping the ball, they're getting up and hustling back here, and the coach will throw the ball either to the same side or to the other side. It's a great fun drill. It's a drill again where you're only using one player and two if you have a backup. You want to get to a situation in your practices where you utilize your assistant coaches and you could divide up the team into stations. And this would be one station that you're doing. It's counterproductive. If you're doing this drill and you have 11 or 12 kids standing around, you don't want to do that. Your practices in T-ball shouldn't run longer than 45 minutes to an hour. You want to have less standing around and a lot of movement. All right. Here's another. Oh, by the way, in this drill too, a number of fielding drills using soft covered balls. I like to have the players early in the year do drills barehanded. In fact, you know what? I've consulted leagues and I've convinced some of them the first two games you should use the soft covered like a rubber ball, could be a bigger one, and the players don't use gloves. They could use gloves after the first couple of games. Now, the glove situation in T-ball, to me, it's something that really the parents should really investigate because you could go into a uh, big box store, go into the sporting goods section, and you could find a package that says official T-ball glove. To be honest with you, there is no official T-ball glove. And a lot of times those packages are not expensive. The glove is what I call a pancake glove, and it's almost impossible to catch a ball. I kind of advise parents early on, you might want to spend a Saturday or Sunday making a few flyers, walking around your neighborhood and seeing if any parents are looking to get rid of some of their sporting goods equipment. Their kids might have been grown, they might have left the house. And I'll tell you, I've done this. And you save money. If you knock on the door, you get the mom of the household, not to be sexist, and you tell her what you're doing. If you're a parent and you have one or two kids with you, and you just say, do you have any old baseball or softball equipment you look to get rid of? Sometimes the mother will lay out the red carpet and say, I've been waiting for this day for the last 5 years. Come on down to the garage. And she'll say, have your pick. I know when I first started playing baseball, I didn't buy a glove for the longest time. I was lefty, and I had my friend's brother up the street, Peter, was a lefty, and I would always inherit his glove. So it was a good deal. Okay. So that's the setup for the goalie drill. The kids love it. You don't have to use gloves. The key is moving their feet. They stop the ball. They don't have to necessarily catch the ball. All right. Okay. Um, I mentioned separating skills, but I also want to mention too, and I'll constantly be repeating this. In our area, I'm right outside of New York City. When I did T-ball, we had between 9 and 12 players on the team. A couple of things when you do that, you have a lot of players, and if you're fielding nine, they don't get a lot of chances in the field. And what I recommended to my league, and we did it one year and it worked out great, is we would divide the teams in half. So we'd have six on a side, and they would play another team with their six, and the field adjacent to it, that field would have six versus six. What you're doing there is you're giving the players more of an opportunity to have chances in the field. You're also giving them more of an opportunity to bat and to experience being on the base paths. Now, talking about the base path, if you have a batting order 1 to 6, and let's say our league played 3 innings, so you have six players who play 3 innings. I instituted a policy where we reverse the order. We'd bat 1 to 6, 1 inning. The next inning, we'd bat 6 to 1. The reason I did that is a lot of times the players that bat last, they don't get the experience being on base. So these two things I want to recommend. Cut the team in half, play 6 versus 6. Now, the last two games of the year, do it 12 versus 12 or 9 versus 9. Do the full team. And the other thing is make sure that your players, first of all, early in the year, they don't have to have gloves. Okay, that's one thing I want to recommend. All right, I lost my train of thought on that, but let's go to the next drill. It's kind of a throwing drill. I'm going to show you one fun drill and then give you a couple of recommendations and show you a technique. You know, when you're involved in T-ball, one of the most dangerous things is when kids start picking up bats. Coaches and parents, you have to watch that. We all know. But another dangerous thing is with the balls, when the kids start throwing them, they're like missiles going all over the place. I want to show you a drill here. It's called the knock down the box throwing drill. And I call it knock down the box, but what I do is I take 6 boxes, I put a cone on top, all right? And I move the player very close. We're putting him in a position to succeed. And teaching throwing, it could be very frustrating. But what I have found that if you have a target like the cone, it's a great idea to have a target because what you're doing is you're steadying the player's head so they have a better chance of throwing the ball straight. When they're not thrown at a target, the head is wandering all over the place. Excuse me. And that's calling the ball to fly all over the place like a missile. So this is a great drill. Knock down the box, and you'll tell them to try to focus, on the target. They can knock down the box anywhere, and the kids like it, especially when the boxes go down. Another thing with throwing, I want to mention, a lot of times kids do not bring their arms all the way back. And one of the reasons is they don't know what it feels like sometimes to bring their arm all the way back. Sometimes they think they're bringing it back and they're not. I developed a little exercise and I'm going to show you. It's called the freestanding bench drill. Now, please do not and go out and buy a freestanding bench. You don't have to do it. In the course of like a 4-month T-ball season, you'll see incredible development with some kids. I mentioned separate skills, use a target. But the other thing is, I use this drill because they lie on a bench, the coach is at the foot of the bench, they bring their arm down and they bring it around and they throw it. Sometimes they'll throw it to the coach, sometimes they'll go over the head. But what this is doing, this particular drill, is what I find the biggest aspect of this is because they're on a bench and they're lowering their arm, gravity will actually help them bring their arm all the way back. And for the players that never experienced feeling their arm go all the way back, this will help. So that's again, the uh, bench drill. And again, don't go out and start buying 12 benches. You don't have to do that. We played our games at our school, and I got to know some of the custodians, so I had access to a bench. I've also used bleachers on this. So you got to be careful with that. So that we're going to wrap up this first uh, T-ball clinic for new T-ball coaches and parents. And if you're not new, I'm sure you picked a few things up. What I'm going to ask you to do before I show you a couple of my products is to please give me a thumbs up if you could. And if you do have time and you could make a comment, the only way I could do these things better and help kids and help parents and help leagues, if I have comments and if you have suggestions, please give me the suggestions. And if you can, please subscribe to Schupak Sports and share this with your league. Now, as far as products, you have to excuse me. People, I have a few, but these are the basics that are most popular. T-ball skills and drills. By the way, I'm going to put a link at the end of this or down below for T-ball skills and drills video. It'll be up for free for a couple of months. Please take advantage of it. And if you can, you might want to take a look at this book, T-ball skills and drills. I go into the history of it. It has a lot of pictures also. And another book I highly recommend, T-ball drills. I have 110 drills in this. Between these two books, and you could get them at Amazon, between these two books, you'll have plenty of drills that you could do for your season. And I urge all of you, if you don't have the money for it, don't go out and buy it. Go up to your library and go to the reference desk and ask them if they could get it. A lot of times they'll be reluctant because I self-publish my books. But if you have a strong league president with a strong personality, if you go up there and ask them nicely, they'll pick up the books for you. So with that said, I'm going to close this out until next time. And until then, I'll meet you at third base.